Okay, so we are going to be using watercolor colored pencils for this, which is a new material for us because I just got these over the summer. So the great thing about these is that you can use them like a pencil, allowing you to really stay in the space that you would like to fill in with a lot of control. Or you can spread out with them and really blend like you do with paint. So this is an example of how you could fill in the space, smaller spaces, and be able to control where it goes. That is a great tool for us because a lot of these have some small detail drawings, and I don't want you to lose the drawing in the paint, which can happen when our paint kind of gets out of control. So we can use them this way, and then you can decide for yourself if you like more of a painterly look. Then you can also add water. So let's see, if I come in and fill my red here, just to show you what that will look like, I will come back with a thin brush and add water, and that will spread out and look like paint. Now, I have to be super easy with my brush because I don't want to scrub and get it messed up. Also, notice that I can come over here and still use some of that like paint. So remember, my frame was made for paint splatters to represent me. Okay, so this is what I would say kind of is equal to our wet on dry method when we were learning about watercolor methods, because I'm putting the pencil on dry and just putting a little bit of water on it, and my paper is dry. So let's talk about another way that we could do this, and that would be to wet the paper first. So I'm going to come up here and just wet my paintbrush. I want you, if you're going to try this method, to just do a little section at a time because we don't want to kind of get overwhelmed with it. So then I'm going to take my brown pencil and come back in here and make some lines to make it look like a brush. And you will notice how the lines appear kind of fuzzy, like paint. So that's great. That kind of gives me a bit more texture. I can color it in a little darker here and make it look a little more realistic with some lights and dark values. And then I could even get my black to add a little bit darker value. And you just want to kind of go slow. You don't want to get too dark too fast. So, okay, so that is wetting the paper first, and then using your watercolor colored pencils on top. And then another thing that we can do, another great way to use these, is to kind of spread out color. So for example, if I wanted, I think I'm going to make the background of this a light blue. So notice how I can just kind of use the side of this pencil and fill space in quickly. And I'm not going to do the whole thing right now. I'm going to do a time-lapse video in just a minute so you can see it all done. But for this little section, let's say I'm just trying to fill it in where I can kind of get it spread out. And this is a great way to do it. I know you guys have done this before with your colored pencils and probably even your crayons. But I want to show you how you can go from this with your water. You can spread it out and make it look more like paint. Ugh, my brush had a little bit of yellow on it from my last project. Okay, but you see how I can kind of gently spread that out. And it's making it have a really dreamy sky sort of look. And if I wanted to leave some of it a little more like the colored pencil, like in here, I can do that. And that kind of helps to add a little texture. So I can see that rubbing of the pencil, and then I'm just getting a light wash of water over top to kind of spread it out a little bit. Okay, so those are a few different ways that you can use these color pencils and make it look like paint, but also have a lot of control. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is finish filling this in, and I'll do this as a time lapse for you. We'll see how long it is. We may or may not be able to watch it all, depending on the length. But I do want you, as you're choosing your colors for this, to keep in mind contrast. Remember, contrast is when you put two different things together and that helps them to stand out. So it wouldn't make sense, now that I've decided I'm going to have this light blue in the background, it wouldn't make sense for me to have a lot of light blue on here because it's just going to blend into the background and I want my H to stand out. So think about that as you're working. You want to put colors side by side that will allow them to stand out. Okay, here we go. Okay, sorry guys, I just have to stop right here because I want to point something out. Notice how I'm planning for this to look kind of metalish. I don't have a gray in this material, so I colored the edges and the places that would have more shading, like where the lines of my metal right here would kind of go in. I colored those with a black, and I'm kind of coloring them pretty dark. And then if I take the water and spread this out, it's going to give it more of a 3D effect. So this will kind of look like it's shaded a bit. And then I can leave the parts I want to look highlighted. I can kind of leave them white or just a little bit lighter. Okay, so that's just a way that we can also use these to really give a three-dimensional quality. Okay, so kind of like that.